Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Data views are the hidden tables that are there in the backend to store the tracking information, email tracking information, access tracking information, about journey subscribing information. This kind of information is stored in the data. We have different type of data view, right? You can just imagine data view as just a table, nothing else, right? Now, these tables are not accessible through the UI, like the way that we access the data extensions through the user interface. We cannot access the data views through the user interface. These are stored in the backend. How do we access these tables? We can write the SQL query and we can retrieve the data from the data views and store the data in the data extension, right? This is how we can retrieve, but these data views are, system uses these data views of these tables to store this kind of information, tracking information, journey information, subscribe information, etc. For the detail, because it will require the entire session, you can go through the session that we have already discussed. If you haven't out, then you can ask. Does that make sense? And in future classes, we'll be discussing about the instinct content and the theorem reports and all. I understand what content like scoring and instinct content. Einstein is out of scope. We don't have the Einstein enabled in this account. We won't be able to cover that. But it's quite important. When I was writing all these exams, also, there were like many questions regarding that, regarding Einstein. But it is not enabled, I won't be able to show it. I understand in a theoretical way, like later. Once we are done with the SS, then we can discuss about that. And also, like I have my model in the HTML, will be having like some free, like we'll be selecting like update profiles, all these forward to your friend. Few options will be selecting right. In forward, a friend will be getting one form right. That will be, we can design it or it is an inbuilt form. It is an inbuilt form. We don't have the control over the design of that form. That is the standard form. And is it like any possible way where you can set header or footer in the while delivering a project? You come again, you want to set the header and footer for normal value of sending a mail. Where will be doing it? We have this delivery profile. In delivery profile, you can configure the header and footer, and whenever you choose the delivery profile, it will automatically populate and that header and footer while sending the email. Can you show that once? You have to go to setup. I You have to go to Image Studio. And this option is not coming over here for this account. You can go to Image Studio and Admin. Here you have to come to delivery profile, and here you can create either a new delivery profile or you can choose a listing one. And here you get the option to configure the header and footer. Here you can choose the header and footer, and at the time of the sending email, you can choose the delivery profile. Let's say here I have selected account default right. The default header and footer. Default footer looks like this. Not to view this email as a web page, click here right. That is your account. Default header and default footer will contain the physical mailing address and all of that thing. How do we customize that? This default one you cannot customize. Let me get a new delivery profile. There we get the option to choose our own created header and footer. Here you are not getting. Maybe in this account we're not getting, but generally we get 3 different options for the header and footer. Non-account default. And the other option is to choose a header that we have created. Let's say you have created maybe a header in which there is a complete logo and maybe some hero images and things like that. You can save that in your content builder and then here you can choose as a header. And when we choose this delivery profile, that will be shown to the user. Otherwise, generally, we do not go this way, but we create a template. Now, in that template, we basically have our header and footer, and whenever you want to send the email, we choose the template. We create the email message out of that, and then we send the email to the customers. And also, I think I've watched our videos in Email Studio. We missed a few topics like interaction and also the measure data build count. Interaction. Interactions, like we already have talked about this thing, right? User initiated emails, triggered emails. We'll be talking about when we talk about API, all these things we already have covered during the Automation Studio import. We have talked about during the Automation Studio. Now these things like data factory, build audience, and these things, this is a part of a different tool that is your audience builder. Audience builder is also used for the segmentation, but we use contact builder for segmentation. We do not use this tool. That is why I did not cover these ones. And the measure also, I think it's in subscribers. Measure, that feature, is kind of obsolete. It is not used anymore. Here we have these measures. What happens with measures is that we can measure the opens, clicks, and these kind of things like how many open that we have got and things like that. These are the default measures that we have. Let's say total unique opens in last 30 days. We can click, we can create a similar measure, or we can choose a default one. Let's say what it will do. Whatever the sense that we have made, right, whatever the image and that we have made, automatically it will identify all those subscribers who clicked on any of the link in, let's say last 30. You need this in last 30 days. It will show you, is it send log? No, send log helps you to capture the custom information, right? Send log will help you to capture the customer's first name or any other custom attribute or custom field that you have created. You can capture through the send log. This you can compare with the data. In data, we have click data view, right? In click data view, we also have the click information stored. But this can be seen in tracking, right? But when we go to a particular individual email, since now you will be only talking about a particular email sent, like how many subscribers from this particular email have clicked on a link in this particular email message. But here we are talking about all the subscribers irrespective of the email message. Let's say in the last 30 days we have sent, let's say 10 emails. Now in those 10 emails, maybe different subscribers might have clicked on the link, right? It will show you that thing. I mean, you can compare this with our standard reports. In standard reports, you can generate like accounts and summary and those kind of reports like click report. That's something you can do. Megana, you're done. Can I ask? Rahul, I got it like when I'm sensing the data from CRM in data source. Like we can get only the field names, not with the records. You're seeing the data from the CRM and like to synchronize data extensions. Like you showed no options like custom synchronized. Write the synchronized data extension. Yes, we are importing the records into synchronized data extension, right? Like when I did some tasks like that, but I got only the fields but not with records. It means there's no recording the source data extension. I mean source object, which data extension that you had sent. Which one? Alternative payment, the third one. What might have happened is that there is an object, right? There's an object in the Salesforce alternative payment method, but there are no records in that object. When you sync like, obviously there will not be any record. But you see, if other objects, we have the records. If you sync any other object where we have the data, obviously the marketing also, it will show the data. Which object you synced, Rahul, that you got contact, and which object for that one. This is the contact object. The name of the data extension that is created. The same name you will have the object in Salesforce without in this course. Let's say if you're syncing account object with Marketing Cloud, then the naming pattern that will be generated, it will be account and this course. Rahul, there is only one method they use to get the data or else any alternative method, like to generate the unique ID for Marketing Cloud for each subscriber. To generate the unique ID for subscriber. In the real time, we only sync CRM to get the data or else any other method will get. We have seen two different ways. One is through the synchronous data extension and the another way is to get it through Journey. In Journey, we have seen that the Salesforce data event. It was a resource. Rahul, I heard about this new ID in SQL. We can create a new ID something else. When I'm reading the article somewhere else, we can generate the random ID by using the new ID. What do you want to do with that? Generating a random ID. Actually, that comment was like, they don't have any CRM. They have only email address and for that they want to create the ID. For that the company they use, where you read this comment. There's some separate exchange somewhere. Stack Exchange. Yes, lead. Actually, sometimes what happens, I mean, whatever they have mentioned, I mean, if it is related to Marketing Cloud, then I mean it is possible. But generally what happens is that is not the official source. I mean, anybody can write anything right over there. The things that I can go over there, I can write anything over there. There might be a possibility that because in Marketing Cloud the SQL is very restricted, here only a few commands work. Not every command work that we have in the SQL that doesn't work in Marketing Cloud. Just a little description like we are using insert, update, delete, right? Is sorry. In AMP, in AMP script, we can use the insert, update, upsert, delete. A small example, like why we want to delete the records in data extension, like single one, like we need to create a data extension and a subscriber. You need to give all the rows and the value or the column of the particular data extension. And through that we can directly search and we can delete it. It will be more easy. We are searching and deleting only by using AMP script. I understand why we are using AMP script to delete the subscribers or updating the subscribers. Imagine that the client wants to build a custom profile center page, right? In a custom profile center page, what happens is, let's talk about which company. Let's talk about Amazon. You are working for Amazon and they build this custom profile center page. Now you go to Amazon to your profile page and you want to basically opt in or opt out for a few of the preferences. They have multiple services, right? Maybe Amazon Prime, Kindle and e-commerce website and other services as well. You have the option to opt into any of the services and you can also opt out. In that case, it should be real time. Let's say you go to your preference page and you say that I don't want to receive any communication related to Kindle. I don't want any updates, nothing like that. And you opt out from that particular category and click on Save button. Now, at that point of time, if you want to make the changes real time, because the cloud base that we have built, we have to write something right that it can update the data extension accordingly. There, we cannot use like what language you would use over there. You'll have to use AMP script only, right? Using the AMP script, you can update the information about the customer. For profile center insert, update, delete will be applicable. Right. Not for normal data extension, it's only for profile center. Profile center page will be a cloud page, your landing page, right? And using which you can update these data extensions. Basically, the codes in the data extension. Like everywhere we will be using a different thing, right? Each use case is different and based on the requirement and use case, we have to see that what thing that we can use over there. Rahul, just one more question. Might be very simple or silly. No problem. Like I was created many journeys, like I got a thought if in real time, if they have like many conditions, like decisions, please know we use like the conditions. If the client comes with the more like 10 or 30, then also we need to clear out like conditions. Or is any logic will be there. You want to like specify the conditions in the decision split. And you're saying that if the number of conditions are more than 30, let's say, We need to create a condition for all that, or else we can any small query or any script. Can we? Is it possible to write anywhere when I'm not understanding exactly? Then if the condition is more like you need to create a more decision split, or else any alternate option is available in this. Like you're asking about the decision split. If it is a different concept, right? I mean filtering. The data is a different functionality. Decision split works like when we want to treat different countries differently. But all the countries have to be in the journey. Now you can use SQL and maybe let's say any other thing to filter the records, but that will eliminate the reports from the journey. Filtering the journey. Filtering the records means eliminating or removing the records or the customers from the journey. Decision split will only just split the records that they can be routed to the correct path. Imagine that maybe you are traveling in a car right on the road. Now there are many cars, right? What this traffic police department will do, maybe they will be creating different paths that they can, route some of the passengers, some of the, cars to a different path and to different path and maybe to different path that they can manage the system. Accordingly, all the customers will be in the journey based on the condition. We can just, route them to the different path. That can only be done through the decision split. At first, only we can give the filter that, like our first condition is excellent. For that, we can give the decision split. You will not, admit unnecessary contacts or records into the journey. Only the eligible contacts should enter into journey, and after that you can use the decision split. Any other doubt? Clear from my interval. Thank you much. Today we are going to talk about a few more examples of the SSJ. In the last class, we had seen that we have two different libraries, core library and platform library, and how we can add the basic syntax of the SSJ site. Now in the core level, we have few functions like add functions and the function. Let's go and implement them. Let's go. In the first example, we are going to see that how we can add a subscriber using the SJ site. Now, these functions will be applicable only on the cloud pages and landing pages. Let's say you're building this page, maybe a form using which the subscriber can subscribe to your email communication. What you can do, you can create the form, you can get the data from the form, and whenever the customer or the user will submit the form, what will happen? That we need to get a subscriber in the backend. How do we do that? There's a function called add function which belongs to core library of the SSJ. Now how these functions are structured or are in our placed. Each function belongs to an object. Understanding this way that we have the SJ programming language in this. We have two library, platform library and core library. Inside the core library, we have many objects like subscriber. What we are going to look at, we have two libraries, and under this library, we have different under the code library. We have different objects like subscriber triggers and definition, user data extension, right? We have different objects. Now these objects have the functions associated with them. Like for subscriber, we have the add function, we have a remove function, we have update function, right? We have different functions for each and every object. Here, what we are going to see is that how we can use the add function of the subscriber object. Where do we use this? This will help us to add a subscriber to the subscriber object whenever. What we need to do, we need to pass the information to the add function, all the information that is required to create a new subscriber in the old subscribers list, right? What are the information we need to pass? We need to pass the subscriber's email address, subscriber key. These are two mandatory information. Apart from that, the preference we can pass. We have to pass that in which list that we need to add the subscriber. Here I'm mentioning the list ID, the action and the status. Now all this information that we are passing, it is multiple information, right? And we have seen that whenever we want to store multiple information, what we can do, the best way to store all this information is in the object. How do we create an object? Here, these are the curly braces, right? And here we have the curly braces. This is how we create the object. And inside the object, whenever we want to store the information, it would be in the key and value format. We have this attribute, let's say property name, property value, property name, property value, like email address would be this subscriber, key would be this email type preference. This list is this. What we will do, this object that we have stored, the name of the object is new subscriber. We'll pass the new subscribers to this function. What it can do, it can create a new subscriber in the old subscribers list. Now, if I'll go to, let me duplicate the tab. We have this old subscribers list and the list ID is 10584. Here we have mentioned the same ID, which means we need to create the subscriber in the old subscribers list. Now, this is the subscriber key. It has to be unique. First, we will check if we have any existing subscriber with the same subscriber key or not. I'll just search the subscriber over here. We don't have any subscriber in the old subscribers list with the same subscriber key. What we can do, we can come over here and then we can run this code. What are the things that we are doing? First of all, we are writing the opening tag and then we are, loading the core library. Then we are creating this object in which all the information about the subscriber will be stored. And then we are using this add function. Whatever this function will return, we are going to say store in this variable that is called status. Now in AMP script, how do we create the variable? We use set@, and then the variable name, right? Here what we do, we use var space and then we don't use the @ symbol. We just normally mention the variable name. Whatever this function will return, we'll store this in status variable. And then we are using the write function to display the content of this status variable. Let's publish the changes. Let's click on Publish. We have got the status. It means our subscriber must have been created by now. Again, I'll search the subscriber. We can see the subscriber has been created with the same subscriber key and the email address. And here we can see the other properties like email address, subscriber key. And these are the default values. This is how you can create a new subscriber into the old subscribers list using the next example that we are going to see that how we can remove the or how we can delete the subscriber from the old subscribers list. We'll copy this. Now, this is something you can only do with the SSJS, right? Let's say you get a requirement in which you need to delete some of the subscribers from the old subscribers list. Now what all options that you have, right? One option that you can do is that you have to go to the old subscribers list and manually you have to delete, right? You have to click on delete subscriber manually. But let's say there are 100 subscribers that you want to delete. Maybe these are the duplicate subscribers, or maybe you know these are not valid subscribers, but by mistake it has been created or something like that. But now you need to delete it. What you can do, either you can manually delete or you have to run the SSJS. Programmatically, you can delete the subscriber. Now, here we have to mention the subscriber key. But what you can do, let's say if you want to do it for the bulk operations, like we have to delete in hundreds of records, then we always have one option that is for loop. We'll run the for loop and we will iterate over the code until all the records are deleted. We'll understand like what all we have written over here. First is the opening tag. This is how we open the SG. And then we are loading the core library. Now in the line number 3, there's one function that is called init that is for the initialization at the subscriber with whom we want to interact. We have to initialize that subscriber. This subscriber that we want to interact with, we want to delete the subscriber. First of all, we have to initialize, and in order to initialize the subscriber, we have to pass subscriber key to this function. Now, this function also belongs to the subscriber object. What it will return? It will basically return the reference of that subscriber, and we are going to store that in a variable called subobject. Now, whenever we want to interact with that subscriber, we will use this variable subobject. What we want to do now, we want to delete the subscriber. That is easy. We'll write subobject remove function. Now, this will simply delete the subscriber from the whole subscribers list. Now, whatever it will return, we are going to store that in the status variable. And then we are going to display the status variable. This is the same subscriber. Now we are going to delete it. Click on Publish Changes. You might see this error sometimes. Don't worry about it. It will come like that. Now let me, whenever you want to. This is the code that we have written over here, right? If you want to run this code, what we need to do, we need to run this page. We need to lower this page. That's what I'm doing over here. I'll refresh this page. Here we see something called error. Let me check if it still exists or not. Still, we have a subscriber. And the code is correct only. Let me cancel this. This time we have got the success. I'll go and check if the record has been deleted or not. As you can see, the subscriber has been deleted from the old subscribers list. Here we have seen that how we can use the remove function, and earlier we had seen how we can use the add function. These two functions you can use to add and remove the subscriber from the old subscribers list. Now in the next example, we are going to see that how we can create a new data extension. Now, this is also something that you can only do with the SSG, right? There you have to get the data extension manually using AmperScript. You can only insert the data, but you cannot create the data extension itself. Now, let's say we have a requirement in which we are expecting the data from the server. But what we need to do that whenever the data comes, we need to create the data extension at that point of time only. And then we have to store the data. We don't want to create the data extension beforehand. We want to create the data extension dynamically. How do we do that? Let me copy this code. This is the initial line, and then we are loading the core library. Again, the syntax will remain same. In left-hand corner, we want to add a subscriber. What we need to do, we need to use the add function, right? Now, the subscriber object also has the add function, which helps us to add the subscriber in the subscribers list. Now, data extension object also has the add function, which helps us to create the data extension. We can create the data extension in our account. What it takes? It takes one. It takes all the information that is required to get the data extension. Now, how we can install all this information? We will be creating an object. Here we have created one object in which we will be storing all the information that is required to create the data extension, like the customer key. What is the name of the data extension? The fields like field 1, 2, 3, field type, and everything we have mentioned over here. Now this is your key and column, key, column, key, column. Now this is called the array. You see, this is square bracket. Whenever you see the curly braces, it is your object, and whenever you see this, you know square bracket, that is your array. Now we also have seen that. Why do you use the array? Whenever you want to store multiple similar items, then always use the array. That is the best way to store the similar items. Let's say if you want to store the name of all the students in the classroom. What you are storing? You are storing the name only, right? The similar items. There you can use the array. Here what we are doing, we are storing the different fields. Now different fields are of the same nature, right? These are the similar items. Field 1, field 2, field 3. We will be storing all this in the array. But whenever you want to store the variety of information, like if you talk about the student, let's say student name, hobby, roll number, classroom, right? Then we use the object. Here we have created one array. Now inside the array, what we have is we have the object. Now in the array, we would be having different elements, right? We would be having different items. After each item, we have the comma. There is item number 1, comma, item number 2, comma, item number 3. And now, because for a particular field, we will be storing multiple information that is of different variety. Like name field type is primary key is required, right? This type of information we are storing, that's what we are using, the object over here. We can run this code and what will happen? The data extension will be created. Let me publish this. That is stringify function. We will understand later. The changes that we made to the cloud, which is, it takes some time sometimes. It is giving us the favor. We will run this again after some time. Let's move on for now. Next thing we're going to learn is that how we can transfer the data, between two different programming languages. We have seen AmperScript and SageSite. Now let's say we have a requirement in which we are not able to complete the functionality by using either of the programming language. We have to use both AmperScript and Skiz. Now, in that case, what we will do? Let's say we are using the family, the SAGs, and we have written some code in the ampersand script. Now the function that we are using the ampersand script must have written something right. That is why we are using the ampersand script. Now the result of that function or the final output of that ampersand script. We want that result, we want that output in our SAGs program. What we will do, we can use this function that is called getValue. This function will get the value from the ampersand script. Let's take a look at it. First, we have written some ampersand script. Let's say we are just, defining a variable over here and we are assigning some value. But you can say that it could be a bigger program where we are running some functions and at the end of the day, we have some output. Now, this is my sites program in which I want to use that value. I want to use that result from the ampersand script. What I'll do, I'll use this getValue function. Now, this getValue function comes from this variable object. We'll use variable.getValue and then getValue means we are getting the value. Whatever the name of the ampersand script variable we'll write over here. This function will go to the ampersand script, will find this variable and whatever the content of this variable, it will return that content. Now, whatever this function will return, we are going to save that in this variable called name and we are going to use this write function to display the content of this variable. Let me just publish the changes now. Here it is displaying my name is hello. Because we have stored my name is hello into this variable. The getValue function will retrieve the content of this variable and return this. Now we have just the opposite function that is called setValue. Now just, turn the situation around. Now let's say we have the ampersand script program and we also have the SAGs program. Now what we need to do that we are writing our ampersand script program, but some of the things that we are doing in the SAGs. Now the ampersand script program, we need that value. We have written some SAGs. We have written some functions and there is one output from. This is just program. Now that output we want to use or we want to, utilize in our ampersand script program. How we can do that? Let's take a look at that. I'll just copy this code. These two lengths will remain same. Now here we have the function that is both setValue, variable dot setValue. Right now it will basically take two parameter. The first parameter, the name of the ampersand script variable in which we want to assign the value and the another variable. Also the another parameter that what value we need to assign. Let what will happen? This function will assign this value, my age is 10, to this variable called age. Right now, here we are using inline ampersand script to display the content of this variable at the rate age. Let's see. It is printing my age is 10. This getValue setValue function can be used to transfer the value from one language to another. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.